All right, everyone. We are back for Guyland's Golden Words. How are you today, sir?
I'm good. I'm good. I'm
All
good. How are
right.
you?
Oh man, blessed and highly favored as usual. Did you have a good week?
Yeah, it was pretty good. Busy.
Busy?
Yeah, I always stay busy at work, but
All right. Well, we're gonna get into a good one. We're not even gonna waste any time. I'm excited about this one. We're gonna be getting into Nephilim today. So go ahead and lead us off and
all right.
man, let's go.
All right. So, um, the Nephilim are the results of the 200 angels that came down and chose wives for themselves. Um,
Why they do that?
they looked at the women and saw that they were beautiful, and they wanted what they seen the men have.
So I take it they weren't supposed to do that?
No, God created them as spiritual beings, and He made marriage for men and women, not angelical beings.
Gotcha. Okay.
So
So angels came down.
200,
Another word for
200 angels
angels
came
is
down.
called Nephilim, or
Or
did we classify the angels that came down as Nephilim?
so the angels that came down were known as the Watchers.
Okay.
That 200 angels were called Watchers. So that was their job to watch over mankind and to make sure we didn't do anything too stupid or uh, anything that goes against God's will.
The angels decided to do that on their own.
Well, they looked at the women and saw that they were beautiful and wanted to choose wives of their own. So they went to Mount Heron and they all made a pact together to say that, look, this is what we're going to do. We're going to change. We're going to take wives for ourselves and then have children.
Got you. Okay.
So,
So tell me, you're going to talk about this,
yeah.
and why is this important? Growing up in church, I didn't hear much about Nephilim and the Watchers. So why is this important? Why don't preachers really cover this in service or
So
Bible
the
study?
Nephilim story is not in the Bible completely.
Okay.
Uh, it gives you a small taste in Genesis chapter 6, but the Apocrypha kind of gives you the overall story of how they came into being and how they lived for the time that they were on Earth.
Gotcha. So now we do have to define the Apocrypha for those that may not know what that
Okay,
is.
so the Apocrypha are books that were taken out of the Bible that the Catholic Church felt was not canon or felt that wasn't written by God's word.
Gotcha. Okay.
So
You mind holding that book up for the camera and giving them a little peek there?
This is my copy.
All right.
It's the latest that I've seen. There's I think it's a 2018 version that has less books, but this is the latest with the 54 book version.
Gotcha. Oh, 54 books that weren't in the original Bible.
That's not in the original Bible.
Wow.
So some of those actually were in the Bible, but again, the Catholic Church decided what should go in and what shouldn't be in it.
Gotcha. Okay. Now, is that in the Hebrew Bible?
Some Hebrew Bibles, it's still in the
Ethiopian Bible.
It's still in the Ethiopian Bible. But then again, it's Ethiopian Bible. So they really don't have a lot to say. I mean, they have a say in Ethiopia, but Catholicism is worldwide now.
So, from your studies, why do you think they took specifically maybe the Book of Enoch out of canon? Were they afraid of something? Was it contradictory to the other parts of the Bible?
It tells the real creation story, so it would kind of explain history.
Okay.
And it would explain how we got science or what we consider science. And so when you have truth, then you can't tell lies that way. So, but if you hide the truth, you can tell whatever lie you want, or you can tell whatever story you want to tell and tell it how you want to tell it. But if you have the book that was already written, then it kind of limits on what you can say.
Gotcha.
So
Okay.
if you already have the truth, you can lie all you want, but you already have the truth. So you can, you don't necessarily have to accept it. But if you don't have the truth, anybody can tell a lie, and more than likely, the majority of people will openly accept it.
So it's your belief that the Apocrypha, the Book of Enoch, gives a more complete Word of God in written form?
I do. It gives a more complete historical, not necessarily a Word of God, but a more historical facts on what happened. The Bible is still, the key scriptures are in the Bible, but the life examples that came in the Apocrypha, I think those are just as important.
So let me ask you one more question before we move on. I think this would be a big one.
Okay.
Growing up, Christian, dad, a Baptist minister,
Yeah.
not knowing about the Book of Enoch or the Apocrypha, am I losing out on salvation for not having the complete book because I don't have the complete knowledge?
No.
Okay.
No, you're not missing out on salvation. Just missing out on just some historical facts that would help complement and fortify what the Bible is saying. So there's a lot of people who don't believe in the Bible.
Well, I'm saying for the people that do, because it's almost like saying, well, if I'm not going to miss out, then I don't even really need to bother with, giving myself this historical knowledge. Like I didn't like history growing up in school. So why do I want to go deeper and learn about, more historical facts of biblical days?
So this is off topic.
Yeah.
So when you talk about what the Bible is the history of God and his people. When you find out who his real people were, then it gives you a better understanding of how we got here as African Americans, because the Bible is actually talking about us. Just being brought over here from Africa, everything's been erased. The language has been erased, the culture, but believe it or not, during slavery time, we were singing Kumbaya, that right there was Hebrew. So we were still crying to God, come by here. It's just been, when everything's erased and you have no idea from generation to generation, you will lose interest because you're thinking, oh, well, this book isn't talking to me, so why should I have any care towards it?
Gotcha.
But if this book, you find out, oh, this book is actually my history pre-slavery, and it even says, it gives you verbatim why and how you're going into slavery.
Wow.
Then it opens your eyes to, oh, let me read this. Now you're more interested now. You'll be like, oh, well, let me find out why this happened and what the repercussions are going to be.
Sure.
So,
well, I don't think that's off topic at all. And the reason being is I would look at the Apocrypha and the Book of Enoch and the other books as being more complete.
Yeah.
I look at Christianity today and I see that it seems very far from what the word says.
It is.
And so you need that extra context to guide you back to the path of, quote unquote, true Christianity, or the practice of Christianity.
Yeah. Today's society, especially this younger generation, it helps to have more context.
Well, and I think for the older folks, right? I mean, we're talking about
well, older folks tend to want to they want to stay in their old way of thinking.
Right.
So it's just like when Israel came out of Egypt, and they were on their way to the wilderness, they had to stay in the wilderness 40 years. It's sad to say, but it was to let the old people die off. So they can get rid of that old way of thinking.
Gotcha.
Not saying that it's always bad, but they don't always want to hear or a new story.
It's
or
very hard for them to take in new information.
New information, especially if they've been taught a certain way already.
Right.
For the majority of their life. So if you can catch those 17, 18-year-olds to like early 20s while they're still young and still open-minded enough to take on new information, then that's good, because then they can put the book and the Apocrypha together along with the Holy Spirit. But then you have the information to back it up when people are trying to challenge you on what you believe in.
Right.
Because most of the time people, I mean, and there's nothing wrong if you have the Holy Spirit, but people are still going to have, some people tend to use the scripture against you and say, well, since it's this and here, they focus more on the Old Testament teachings instead of taking it as a whole or what the New Testament is actually teaching you.
Right.
Because of the Hebrew people originally were, they worshiped, studied Judaism, and you're not supposed to do that now. After Jesus came, that was the last sacrifice of any kind that you were supposed to do, or that was supposed to be done. That was supposed to be the complete final sacrifice. Before that, in the Old Testament, they would sacrifice animals to eradicate that smell of sin that God, if he would smell your sin, that's the sacrifice was supposed to cover that smell that he would smell when his people were sinning.
Oh, gotcha.
So
that's some crazy incense. But
yeah, right. Yep.
That's an interesting air freshener.
Yeah, but I mean, even when Adam and Eve sinned, he put animal clothing on them. So again, animal sacrifice. I think the Apocrypha will give you a better understanding if people accept it. I mean, but it's still up to them, because God gave everybody free will. But if you're looking for those, well, why did God do this? Or so some people they wonder why God had Israel kill off a lot of people. They wasn't, I don't want to say for a better word, a pure race of human beings. Their DNA was, it didn't match what he created.
Which is, that gets into it.
So that gets back, back to the main topic.
That's the jumping point. So let's go into that.
So after the fallen angels took their wives, the wives had children, and which were giants, and I think they were 35,000 ells?
Wow.
Which equivalated is basically from your wrist to your elbow was the equivalent of one ell. So if you have, 35,000 of 18 inches more or less,
right?
You're having some pretty
huge.
tall. Yeah, you're having some huge giants. So
these are buildings height.
Yeah. So they did the most damage. They did more damage than they did more physical damage. The fallen angels taught men how to work with roots and cast charms, and how to work with forbidden things in nature, how to mix certain stuff to make certain fragrances and certain makeup. They taught men makeup, how to use metal, and how to bend metal, gold, jewelry, everything that God said we weren't supposed to be messing with. Until I think God told them how to do gold to build his temple, but that was later on. That was way after. That was after the Noah period. But the Nephilim, they would actually, and they coexisted in the beginning. But when they ran out of food, they turn around and would eat humans. So yeah, God decided they had to be dealt with.
Mm.
So,
does the Book of Apocrypha or the Book of Enoch, does it talk about how long the giants were around before God came in and said, and is this the story of Noah?
It said they were supposed to be, if he didn't cut the time short, they were going to live to be about 500.
Wow.
Years old.
And we were already slated to live, what, about 120 years? According to the word?
Yeah, but I'm not sure if it was at that point specifically.
Right. Oh, because Noah was
older than that.
Several hundred years old.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it was
So was it after the flood?
It was after the flood.
Then we would only live 120 years.
Yeah. Matter of fact, it could have been right before the flood, because he said, man only does evil continually.
Mm.
So matter of fact, it was right after the flood, when King Nimrod came in control of Babylon. That's when, so right before, when they were trying to build the tower to heaven, that's when he separated all of them, and he cut the lives short then. Because he said, man, well, there's nothing men won't accomplish if they work together as one people.
Mm.
And that's a true statement. So he had to disorganize everything. So, because man don't know. It seems like people are inherently evil. Some are capable of good, but you don't have to teach evil.
Right.
So, and that was one of the sayings after getting booted out of the garden.
But just on a side note, it seems like we're well on our way back down that road, right? I mean, we designed nuclear bombs and things like that, right?
Yeah.
Like, yeah, you can use your power for good, you can use your power for evil.
And that
There's no good in a nuclear bomb.
And that is very true. We don't allow people who have creativity. It's always used for, I don't want to say used for evil. It's always used to make money.
Mm.
It's never been good for humanity as a whole. Technology could have been a great thing if it was used for the greater good and at little to no cost. But society has always made it to where, well, how much can I make for this?
Mm-hmm.
Humanity has a lot of creativity, and that's been proven throughout history. But their hands is always stuck out for how much for this.
Right.
Instead of just saying, oh, well, look what I came up with. I have this engine that's can run off of water. And instead of letting that invention flourish, that invention hasn't and will never be available to the public. So, because
got to get paid.
Somebody got to get paid.
Yeah.
And then somebody got to lose money.
Right.
So, if we ever could come to that, to where we can do things for humanity without worrying about how much money we can make, I think we'll be better off. But
we could cure diseases.
Yeah.
Do all kinds of things.
Yeah.
Make new discoveries.
Yeah. So
let me ask you this: why is this the topic that you wanted to discuss? Why is the Nephilim important to you?
It's part of the creation story. It's part of how things can get so bad to where it brings judgment on the earth. So after God flooded the earth, he wiped it clean. He gave a promise with the symbol of a rainbow.
Mm-hmm.
And now it's his promise to say, I'll never flood the earth again. But now that symbol has been given a completely different meaning.
Mm.
And mankind took that symbol, took a God-given symbol, and made it something else.
Right.
And that has to be judged. because you can't just take something that God created and change it to your liking. Because God's gonna either call it a abomination or a perversion.
Mhm.
And what does a parent do when they're disrespected? They're gonna punish their children.
Yeah.
So when things get extremely bad, it normally calls for an extreme punishment. So as for the Nephilim, they were the precursor to men learning how to be learning how to war with each other. So the fallen angels taught them how to fight and everything else too. So and their punishment for that, they don't get forgiveness. Though all those fallen angels, they're locked away until the day of judgment.
And they will have.
And then they go straight to hell.
Wow.
Yeah, there is no. Yeah.
Wow.
So they got together and talked to Enoch and was wanting Enoch to talk to God, intercede on their behalf. And God took that as a disrespect. Because he said, he said, Enoch, he said, go tell those, go tell them, go tell them that I created them to intercede for man, not for you to intercede for them. So
now I'm even more pissed.
Yeah, right. So he said their children won't get any mercy, and they won't get any mercy. So
wow, their children, but the children are innocent, right?
No,
why?
Because they were sinning against everything. Basically, they said beast, bird, fish, and sin against probably meaning to procreate with. And they basically created all these other creatures that should never have existed. So it's bad enough that God didn't create the Nephilim. The Nephilim is a result of the fallen angels sinning with women. So it's consequences for that. So God made it to where they had to basically fight each other to the death.
Wow.
And the angels had to watch all their children die. And then he flooded the earth to get rid of all the other creatures that were left.
Oh, man.
So the only creatures that probably didn't get destroyed is creatures that was in the water. So we call them prehistoric or dinosaurs or anything that's left in the water from that time is probably still deep in the water.
Ooh, there's some scary stuff down there.
Yeah, because that's the only thing that didn't get destroyed.
Oh, maybe that's why it's so ugly, huh?
It's
the stuff deep down is ugly.
Yeah, and it's dark. It's dark. There's no light once you get to a certain depth. It's completely dark. So they're gonna have to figure out. I think after that point, God pretty much chose Noah to say, "All right, you're gonna restart everything." But the Nephilim, well, it says so in the Bible. It says when the Son of Man returns, basically meaning when Jesus returned, it will be the same as in the days of Noah. So the things that were happening in the days of Noah will be happening again. So society has already have a lot of things. The way society runs now is pretty much the same as in the time of Noah. We're only missing the fallen angels and the Nephilim. But when the Nephilim were drowned, he called them, they went from being called Nephilim to evil spirits.
Okay.
So, because he said basically, okay, your body's dead, but you have an angelic spirit, so water's not going to kill you. But he said you can't come to heaven either. So your punishment is you're going to stay on earth, and they're basically here to mess with man and pervert mankind as they wish or how they try to.
Well, I guess they would be angry that they're not going to get into heaven. And
but there was no angry when they was eating people either. So I mean, it goes hand in hand. You can't have. I mean, and don't get me wrong, you can have remorse, but they had a mind of their own, so they could have thought things through. Just because you're a giant don't mean you got to eat everything.
Mm-hmm.
I think they just thought they were better than God's creation.
Gotcha.
So they figured, oh, well, our fathers are angels, so we good.
And I'm hungry.
Yeah.
And they tasty.
Yeah. So instead of saying, look, hey, because they could have went and talked to the angels and said, hey, look, this is what we want to do. What do y'all think? But again, the fallen angel, the watchers, the 200 angels could have went to God and said, look, hey, we see they have women.
Mm-hmm.
Can we get a companion?
Mm-hmm.
But again, I don't think that conversation was ever had. People just acted upon what they wanted to do.
Right.
So and that's consequences to that. So as they deal with their consequences, mankind has to deal with our consequences.
So let me ask you this: if I'm a Christian, I attend church a little bit. You know, I'm starting to discover and expand my knowledge by reading. Okay. What can I glean from this? What does this story of the Nephilim and the fallen angels, the Watchers and the giants? What should I take from this to help me in my journey?
All action have consequences. And I think a lack of communication with God can cause you to have more dire consequences. Because everything is judged, right? But if you ask God first, then he will tell you yay or nay.
Let me tell you what I get from it. You know, just from our discussion. That's good stuff. It's good stuff. Yeah. So these 200 watchers, were there more than 200 or just 200? Because I would think that there were some watchers that were like, nah, I'm not doing that. Y'all on your own.
Well, at least this group of watchers, it was only 200.
Okay. So were there more watchers that didn't partake? Or,
it doesn't say.
So for me, what I get from that is it can be really easy to get caught up and go along with the majority.
It can.
Right?
It can.
So what I'm taking from that is there are a lot of things that are happening, either macro societal wise or smaller in a group of friends or people that you respect and care about that want to do something that you know isn't right. And you go along with it because they got the numbers, right? Yeah. If the 199 of your friends and family are like, this is what we doing, it'd be really hard for you to be that 200th and say, man, I'm gonna go against y'all 199. I'm gonna go over here because this ain't right.
But don't get me wrong. That one could have did that. He could have said, you know what? Hey, I'm gonna let y'all do it. I'm gonna head back to heaven. And he could have went and reported back.
Yeah, he could have snitched, huh?
Because when it comes to heavenly power, that would have probably been their best bet.
Let me put it this way. So, because I use the word snitching, and I think about, you know, our gang-ridden streets, right? Yeah. So our kids grow up in these war-torn ghettos, right? And when they're 4, 5, and 6, you know, everyone loves the little kids, you know.
Oh, yeah.
Little JJ's cute, you know, little Tamika, you know, she's so sweet. She got little hair bobbles.
Kids have no filter either when they're young.
But follow what I'm saying. Yeah. So then all of a sudden they hit their 13, 14, right? And for whatever reason, now they're getting attracted to the gang life, right? Yeah. And now they're over there. So now they're wilding out. Now they're terrorizing the neighborhood. Yeah. Now they're selling drugs. Now they're you know, doing drive-by shootings. They're doing all this, you know, nefarious stuff. Yeah. And now these cute kids that we just doted on now are destroying the community, but the community remains silent. And then we say, well, no, you can't snitch because you just don't snitch. You know.
Well, I mean, so in that aspect, if the problem would have been dealt with when they were younger, before they turned bad, because
no, I get that, but follow what I'm saying. So now the people that aren't willing to tell on those same kids just allow it to fester and get worse. Yeah. So now they have to live with their property values dropping, with ducking every time there's a
now you gotta tell at that point. So
right.
It's not about snitching.
But they were like the 200 angels.
It's about taking back what's yours.
That went along to get along. They should have turned away from what was wrong and they let it happen.
They could have, but I mean, choices have to be made. The only difference is the Angels, once they made that first choice, they lost all their choices after that. So at that point, you at the mercy of the judge. So it's just like them kids that grew up and they bad. Well, guess what? They asked to be dealt with now. So instead of the community being quiet and not saying nothing, like, yeah, Ray and Lil Pookie, they used to be nice, but they terrorizing people now.
Right.
So either they're gonna do time in jail, but they're no longer good to society now at this point. Now, Can they be turned around? Yes. But again, that's a choice. Do they want another option?
Yeah, but that's not my point. My point is
so in that point you have to snitch. Because otherwise the problem won't get looked at.
Right. But you're the one that actually pays for it, right? Pookie and Ray, they gone, right? And then it's perpetual because there's going to be another one and another one and another one. But now the mother, who is now the grandmother who survives, right, is in that same hood. She can't escape it. She's not going to tell on any of the kids, right? She don't want to tell on her baby. So then she's just terrorized.
Where the men at?
But it's the men too.
Well, see, that's the problem. If all the men get together and get on them, the young guy, 18, 19-year-olds, it needs to be either a discussion one way or another, whether it be verbal or physical. They need to understand that, hey, you can't terrorize people.
I don't think there's any men that could come up against what's going on now. They're so ultra violent. They're killing people on Instagram Live.
And that's a true statement. But see, my thing is this, okay? If they want to be in gangs, put them on the front line of the military and see if you really gonna have that same attitude if you dropped off out of an airplane in a foreign country and got to fight for your life.
Yeah, but there were gangs on the carriers, right? There's Bloods and Crips on the boat.
It is, but it's not all gangs. It's not all Bloods and Crips either.
Mm-hmm. There's lots of different gangs.
Yeah, right? but they have to work together.
Mm-hmm.
So it's different if you have to work together and you're being, you're taught a job and you're here to do a job. If you're just out on the streets terrorizing people, what's your purpose?
Mm-hmm.
You're not doing that. You're not protecting the community.
Right.
You selling drugs or doing whatever you need to do to make your money. If you're gonna be in a gang called the military, okay, at least there's a purpose.
But they got a purpose.
Who, the gangs?
Yeah.
What's their purpose?
Well, for them, they got a purpose. They're making money. They've got fellowship. There's safety in numbers. Right?
But
they got respect.
At what cost?
What do you mean at what cost? They don't feel like they have any other options. I'm not working at McDonald's.
Well,
and I don't want to join that man's military either.
But those are options. You
right.
Don't have,
so I would rather do this. And you know what?
See, are they men or are they boys that just can't be men on their own?
No.
Because a man by himself don't have to join the gang.
No, I think you're putting too much responsibility on them, right?
On them.
Yeah, because they're kids. We're talking about when you look at what's happening, the transition.
Yeah.
Right. These kids are 8, 9, and 10 when they're introduced to this by their nephews and the women too. They're in gangs too. So I don't want to leave them out.
Because at that age is actually too young to be introduced. And don't get me wrong, because I seen it at that age.
Right. But they are. When they walk to school, they walking past the gang members.
Yeah, because I had to do it too.
Right.
But I chose not to.
But they're a child, right?
Hey, I chose not to, even as a child. I had it worse.
You
I
chose.
was dressed up in a white shirt and black slacks going to a private school.
You're the exception that proves the rule, right? Because there's far fewer of you than there are of them.
Choices have to be made. Everybody got to make their own choice.
So you saying you're literally condemning an 8-year-old to their choices. It's like, well, you know what? You were 8. You should have known better.
Well,
you chose the gang.
So I'm not saying that they're going to know better. But I'm saying the minute you can say, so choices have to be made by everybody. I'm not saying that they're going to make the best choices without guidance. Because they can choose, even if they do have, say if they all have fathers in the home, they can make a choice to either listen or not listen to them.
Yeah, but
because even if he's teaching you right from wrong,
in the hood, those fathers are typically in the gang too. We have that going on right here, right? We got a gang problem right here in Kitsap County, right?
Right.
And in that, we have young fathers that are in their 40s that may or may not be active gang members, but still claiming their colors,
and so
that are raising the kids behind them to do the exact same thing.
So that's the problem. If they haven't learned by having time in jail that that's not the spot to be, or have learned how to be a man and make decisions on your own, that's the problem. Because at least when the Black Panthers were around, it was classes that they were teaching boys and even teaching grown adult men how to be men.
I get you, but
on their own to make good decisions.
I get you, but that's a whole nother argument. We talking about the 8-year-old, right?
Okay, so the 8-year-old, he wants to do what he want to do.
No, the 8-year-old is just going to school, and is being tempted. He is being groomed to go into the gangs, right?
Okay.
Maybe he's even being bullied because the school he got to go to is on the other block where the ops are.
Yeah.
So now I got to get with these folks so that I can be safe. Now I'm in the gang. Mama ain't helping me. The daddy that made me might not even be in the home because he's part of the gang, right?
That's true. True too.
So now the 8-year-old is condemned. You see what I'm saying? So most of them don't have that choice. They're going to fall into it. And what I'm saying is, this is what I think the problem is.
Oh yeah.
Because then you've got the mother, right, and the grandmother.
Yeah, and that's
when
bad
it was an
right
infant,
there.
it was they're so sweet.
Yeah.
Now they hit 8, they hit 11, they hit 12. Now they're actively in the game, right? Well, I'm not going to tell on my son. I'm not going to tell on my grandson. But my property value is dropping.
But then what? So when he gets shot, then what? Then you gonna regret not telling on it?
Then they go and they do a GoFundMe and they put T-shirts on, and that's what it is.
Well, there you go.
I mean, that's what it is.
But that's still not gonna solve the problem.
Well, we're not talking about solving the problem. We gotta identify the problem first.
True enough.
Before we solve it.
True enough.
And so what I'm saying is, when you look at the watchers, right?
Yeah.
That came down and decided the 200, they had a meeting.
Okay.
Not one of them 200 was like, man, y'all on your own. I'm not doing this.
So the Angels kind of different situation because they had the knowledge between good and evil.
Right.
They already knew.
Mm-hmm.
So the reason why they get no mercy is because they already knew. And they knew the repercussions. So they already knew, if I do this, I'm gonna get God's wrath.
Right. And
but if you let something, they let what they wanted to see. They let what they wanted make that choice for them.
Right. And so this is where I agree with what you were saying earlier, that the kids do have to take responsibility. When you're 13, 14, 15, and we're seeing them younger because we're seeing carjackers at 10.
Yeah, it's horrible.
Right? They know when they go and they steal from a store and they run, they're doing something wrong.
Yeah.
So they know the difference between right and wrong. Yeah. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah. When you do something wrong, you take off. So somebody sees you run it.
So they know, just like the watchers, they got in their group and they had their meeting. We're going to sell these drugs. They know it's wrong because they don't do it out in the open because the cops going to arrest them. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So they have the knowledge of good and evil as well, or good and bad.
Yeah.
And they're choosing to do bad.
Yeah.
But then the adults are saying, well, we're not going to snitch. So then they just have this perpetual generational situation where we have these ghettos where we can't do anything. And then if the popo comes in, 5-0 comes in, and one of them gets beat up or shot,
oh yeah,
then it's, oh my God, it's police brutality. That's a whole nother conversation.
That is. But I mean,
but it's like, wait a minute, your boy was selling drugs and beating people up and shooting at people and knocking women up and doing all this stuff.
So a lot of it is because the boys don't have a father, don't have a good example. Because if you have anybody could have kids, but to be a good example to your kid, to show them, look, you don't have to make these bad decisions and be successful. You may see things that you want, but that don't mean it's a good idea to go try to chase those things.
Yeah, that's true. But how many people that
we don't have a lot of good examples of what to do and what not to do.
Actually, we do. We just choose not to follow them, right? And we choose to support the debauchery, right? There was a time, like I take hip hop for example.
Yeah.
We had conscious rappers.
Yep.
You know, KRS.
Oh yeah, good examples.
Good stuff, right?
Good examples.
But now only the most debaucherous, disgusting rap is what's elevated, right? And that's what we follow. So we know, because when we talk about it in our groups, we say, look at what the man's doing to us, right? They only allow this music to flourish.
Rap was criminalized.
No, but follow what I'm saying. They allow the debaucherous rap to flourish. Oh, yeah. We talk about it because we have knowledge of it, but still that's what we promote collectively.
Well, it's not what we promote. It's what's only allowed to be promoted. So if you don't rap about money, sex, drugs, and women, you can't get a record deal.
But let me ask you this.
So if you want to be conscious, you're underground. You're an underground independent.
Okay.
So you can still, but people want that fast money.
Right.
To be an independent artist is a lot more work, and you got to think outside the box more.
Well, that might be true, but collectively, we
accept it. We accept it.
No, we are the trendsetters on what's cool. Right?
Yes, we always.
I would say globally.
Globally, we are. We are the trendsetters.
So in the United States, we say what's cool.
We say what's cool.
We say what's up.
Yes,
right?
But look who you got saying. So if we're the trendsetters, we have no real identity. We have just got out of we still stuck in the same place that we have been in slavery for over 400 years.
No, but stay with the rap hip hop conversation because you moved the goalpost. We had a KRS One. We had a comment.
We did.
What happened? If we kept saying that was cool,
they got older and they got pushed to the side because they didn't take the
money and the deals.
They didn't take the record deals.
Okay.
They had little small deals. They didn't take, when they came for the big deals, they took people like LL Cool J, Run DMC.
Well, and they were still they were clean rappers for all intents and purposes.
And lo and behold, later on, they came out with a documentary. The rappers that took the deal wasn't even the best rappers out.
Oh, facts.
But they took the bottom of the barrel. Not saying that they wasn't good, right? They took the bottom of the barrel, made them stars, and pushed all the conscious, positive rap out the way. Okay. So you got to ask the question: why would you get rid of the positive rap when that was giving us an identity?
Well, I'm saying that doesn't even matter because we're the ones that say what's cool. So even if you've got money that's back in the debauchery, we have agency enough to say, no, we're not with that. That's whack. But we're going along with it. Why are we going along with it? Even if you have a few that go out there and say, I'm gonna sell out for the bag, and they get the bag and they get pushed out by the machine to go platinum, double platinum, get played everywhere. Yeah. We still decide collectively what's cool. So why did we allow this?
Because that's what we hear. If you listen to the rap now, it don't even make sense.
So we're the angels. We didn't got in a group and we said, you know what? This is cool. We're going to accept this. And we accept it. And so we get what we accept.
Yeah, true enough. That's true. True statement. True statement. Because,
I feel like I just put your king in check.
But I mean, it's a true statement. You got to accept if that's what you pushing up to the forefront, if that's what you're accepting, we don't have any trying to figure out the best way to say it.
We have agency. We just need to take control of it.
We don't have a certain level of self-respect to where we have the standards that we used to have are no longer there. So let's take the conscious rap.
Yeah.
We had standards back then.
Right.
Because the music then was to have a party and have a good time. But if you go overseas, you'll see people still doing that old school hip hop, rapping, DJing, and breakdancing.
Yeah.
And they making money off of that.
Right.
Like those are jobs. But yet we're not allowed to make money off of it here.
I don't know if it's
now DJing, yeah, you can make a little money, but not off of those three keystones of hip hop were the original keystones. So the thing is now is why aren't we allowed to make money without somebody coming in wanting to make money off us, off of our culture? Because that's what it boils down to.
They would be stupid not to. They would be stupid not to. If I see an opportunity, man, see what they got going on over there? Man, they just need to monetize that and they can get the bag. But I'm going to go get the bag because they're not doing it. So let me go ahead and copyright it and do it.
Because originally it was never meant to make money off of. It was meant just to be a culture and to get people together.
Right. That's part of our gift, I believe. You know, we put things out into the world.
And it is because that was our God-given gift. Was to actually be priests and examples for God to everybody else.
But we're not doing that now. We are not being good examples.
And we are not being good examples. So that's why we're in the state that we're in. It's like we're crabs in the barrel. We can't unify under one thing, and especially under the one thing that it was designed for us.
Nat Turner. Moving on from that, let's bring it back to Bible. So you had said something to me before this, and you were saying the angels, you know, their punishment is set in stone, right?
The fallen angels, yeah, their punishment is set in stone.
Where man can ask for forgiveness. So
correct.
There's nothing they can do. We can do something.
We still have a chance to do something. You just have to accept Jesus.
What's the Bible answer? That's what I mean. So accept Jesus. How do we get there collectively?
Collectively?
I know it takes one at a time, but
so one, teach the Bible properly. Don't use the Bible as a way to make money off of your congregation. There's a story in the Bible where it talks about how Jesus went to the synagogue and he got angry how they were cheating the people, so he came and threw tables over. He said, well, basically he's talking about the Pharisees and the Sadducees, basically saying, what are you doing? If people want to come to me or come to the Father, let them. It's free. Salvation, I'm here to pay.
But you do believe in tithes and offering, right?
Yes.
So would it
because
be fair
because tithes and offering was for, so you give your 10% to the church, right? Well, how that should have went is it would enable the church to basically have a stockpile of food. So when times are rough and your congregation need food, your church has it. God has provided.
Yeah, but you got to pay bills too. You got to pay for the building, the property tax.
You do have to pay for that, but you don't have to. They don't have to pay taxes, so you're getting a huge tax break.
Yeah, you know when people say that,
and now, so not only are you getting a tax break, but now you're underneath a system that can control when you're open. And if they say, oh, well, you got to close down because this is going on, you have to close down.
I get that, but so I want to. There's a misnomer about tax breaks.
Okay,
right?
go ahead on, break it
So
down.
the 501, I run a 501c3.
Okay,
So people are like, oh, you get a tax break. It's a deal. You still have to spend the money, right?
Mm-hmm.
When I go and I get a gallon of gas, well, whether I have to pay tax on it or not, the gallon of gas is still $5 a gallon.
No doubt.
You see what I'm saying?
Yep.
So there's still a cost associated with it. So if your tax rate is 9%, you're saving the 9%. You're still spending $5, right?
Yeah.
So people say, oh, you get a tax break. There's a fallacy in that thinking. But I hear what you're saying. So
for you, it would be different.
No, 501. We're both a 501c. There's a different distinction, but it's still pretty much the same. Because they don't have to report. Churches don't have to report.
The churches shouldn't be controlled by those type of things. The church is supposed to be free from any, meaning they shouldn't have to be following rules from. You follow the rules of the land, but don't tie yourself down to more rules to where you can't help the people.
Oh, I got what you're saying there. But would it be fair to say a church should have an expectation of tithes and offering from the parishioners? Hold on, let me finish my thought.
Okay.
But as the money comes in, there is an accounting that is shared with the congregation, every 2 weeks or every month. So there's a report to the people that are actually paying the tithes and offering to.
And so some churches do give that report of how much the church has now. Boom.
Right. We had 100,000 come in. We put 10,000 on rent. This and this. This is going to this program. This is going to this program. Exactly. This is what we got left. What do we want to do collectively?
Well, and a lot of it should be saying, okay, well, do we have a soup kitchen?
Mm-hmm.
Do you have certain programs? Do we have a daycare? And so if people, so all these type of things, when you serve in the church, I don't necessarily think they should be paid because you're serving. I mean, because ushers don't get paid. The only person that's really supposed to get paid is the pastor, and that's supposed to be separate from tithes. Because your tithes is going to the church. So when people have a need, like, I'm having problems with my rent right now, or I don't know how I'm gonna feed my kids, then the church can say, boom, 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 we got you.
But is that even practical, or
it is practical?
How? The church secretary, how are they supposed to do that for free when they're working 20 and 30 hours now? Or the church treasurer, or
if that's your primary job, if that's your primary job, are you an accountant? If you're an accountant and you're the church secretary, then yes, you should be paid. If you're an accountant. Now, there's a lot of church secretaries who are not accountants, but they're doing that job. So that's like me. I was an IT in the Navy. I've had school and I've had training, but then the question says, okay, he's an IT. Is he trustworthy? Because he has all these permissions. He could be a professional hacker for all we know. Why would we allow this man in? All I'm saying is if you're going to have somebody in certain positions, do a background check. That should be part of it.
Okay, that could, but that's getting away from
because they should be a member. They should be a member.
Okay.
And they should have a background check so they're trustworthy, and they should have some kind of certification or degree that says I can do the job, and I will. Because basically, you need to know: are you going to try to cheat or steal from this church?
And some of the people that got the greatest,
I know,
the grade on paper,
hence the background check.
But that might not reveal it. There's a lot of people that haven't been charged.
But then again, it will though. They may not have been caught yet, but
the background check ain't gonna show that, right? They're gonna be squeaky clean. They've never been caught.
Well, so a thief ain't always squeaky clean. They'll have some stuff.
Most of them are.
Some,
right?
But you're right. Most are.
I'll give you an example.
Clean, but most thieves are habitual thieves.
I'll give you an example. When you look at the drug wars, the crack epidemic, and coming up, right? Yep. And when marijuana was illegal, we still have this in a lot of places, right?
Yeah.
Now, that disproportionately impacted Black folks, right? When you get charged, the good Kamala Harris still got people in jail down there in California, right?
Yeah, she was ruthless.
But that said, they could go every Saturday night to any white college in this country and catch white kids doing drugs and being drunk that are underage that shouldn't be doing it. But none of them have criminal records, right? And if they do get caught, they just get warnings. So the behavior is there, right?
True enough.
But it doesn't show up. And so
Yeah.
you say, oh, well, you're clean, bring you on in.
Yeah.
But that's been their history, right?
But, I mean, but word of mouth helps too. I mean, so again, that's why I think if you're going to be in a position, you need to be part of the church, meaning you have discernment about people. Because like you said, some things you can't see it's on the surface.
Right.
But if you have discernment, something ain't right about you. I don't know what it is, but I can't give you no position right now. I'm gonna need some time to get to know you.
You might have some overwatch.
Yeah.
You can be an assistant for a while until you prove yourself.
To prove yourself and to get rid of this bad feeling I have about you.
Mm-hmm.
Because if I have a bad feeling about you, I'm like, I don't know if I'm gonna want you in my church.
Gotcha.
Because I don't know if you're a witch in disguise. Because there's plenty of witches in all these in Christian churches, and they'll tell you later, yeah, I was there because I had to. They be there to try to take out the pastor.
Wow.
Because what's the best way to destroy a church? If you get rid of the shepherd, the flock go crazy.
Well, that's facts.
And that's the end of that flock. They move on to the next one.
That's facts. Well, let's digress a bit because the whole point was paying people that work in the church.
Okay,
so there's the way that churches are set up now, or not even now. We'll just take today's church, right?
Okay.
It seems like it would be very difficult to not pay people who work in the church to keep the church going.
Okay.
Because, let's be specific with the Black church.
Okay.
If you have a middle class to lower economic class congregation,
okay,
they don't have the discretionary time to give of themselves on top of the fact they're working 2 and 3 jobs and
they struggle. They struggling. Yeah.
So they're trying to supplement their household and trying to serve the church.
Yep.
And that's a way that they can be close to God, use their talents, but also make a little money to supplement their household.
And no doubt.
What's your thoughts on that?
And that's fine. I just don't think that if you're working in the church, that shouldn't be your primary career. Don't expect.
So it should be a part-time job.
It should be more. It should feel like a part-time job.
Okay.
So it shouldn't feel like, oh well, this is my. It shouldn't be a career to where I need this to feed my family. Now it can supplement as a part-time job. Hey, that's fine. But it's just like working at McDonald's. I'm not expecting to take care of my family flipping burgers. Because that's not the point. The point of that type of job should be temporary, get some experience, and to just get an understanding, oh, this is how the workforce is.
And the experience to do what?
Having to work for a period of time.
I think we need to have another conversation. If you look across the nation, the age of fast food workers is way higher now
than it should be.
Right.
Because you shouldn't be in that type of field unless you're trying to, one, be a manager or have your own franchise.
But again, everyone can't be a manager. Everyone can't have a franchise.
Again.
And everyone doesn't have the skills.
So where's your high schoolers who's supposed to be in that position? That should be like a high school type of job.
Well, even if you had it, then where would the adults go to work?
So they need to figure out if they need to get an education, they can do that.
How?
If they can go to school. If they don't have money, they can do what I did and join the military first.
What if they can't join the military? I couldn't join the military. What if they didn't finish high school? What if they were horrible students?
So you can get a GED.
What if they were horrible students?
Then you can get into work trades. They have work camps.
Work camps?
Yeah, my grandfather was in a work camp. Basically, it was called, I think it was Job Corps.
Yeah.
But it teach you a trade. And then you go out and once you get your trade, you go out and work. I think our problem is we don't have no more pride anymore. Now, I'm not saying as a people, I'm saying as a nation, to where you can go out and get an honest job and earn an honest wage. We're too busy focused on, I need to get this money now.
You don't think
by any means
McDonald's is an
necessary.
honest job?
It is, but it should, again, that's not a job to support your family on. It shouldn't be.
It shouldn't be. The problem is that this country has put tens of millions of people in that situation with no way out.
Well, I mean, so it depends on, and I get it, everybody can't find the same way out, but how many of them actually try to find a way out?
A lot of them.
So let's take this.
I'd say most of them.
Before I retired, I was at Taco Bell. It's not even Taco Bell anymore. It's a Spanish restaurant now. Taco Bell, going through the drive-thru.
Did you say before you retired?
Yeah, this is before I retired.
From where?
From the Navy.
Okay. See, your story don't even count. Before I retired.
But see, I didn't want. So when I first joined the military, that wasn't something that I was thinking about.
Yes.
I ran out of money while I was going to college.
Right. Before you joined and retired, you were so much a different man from the going into the who you are now. And
my thinking was the same.
But that is also why you went in.
I learned the military taught me more patience, how to deal with people that I didn't necessarily want to work with, or people who did not want me to succeed. I learned how to maneuver and succeed around them anyway.
Well, that sounds like fun. Why would I want to choose that?
And that also told me, it showed me that, I need to start reading this Bible.
Why would I choose that as an 18-year-old? Based on what you just said, it just showed me how to maneuver around people and this and that. Man, I'm not going into that. And I'll give you an example. You and I talked to my daughter last night, and she don't want to go to the military, right? And she's thriving. She's successful.
But when your choices are limited, you gotta make choices that you don't always like. And it's sad to say. And then being an African American, your choices can be a lot slimmer.
No, you're right. But I think that goes back to the whole 10-year-old, right?
Yeah. Well,
so now that kid maybe has graduated high school as an average or a below average kid, but their parents and their family had told them, no, you don't join the military. The military ain't taking my baby. So that is a culture within that family, and it takes a special person to break out of that and say, no, I'm going to go ahead and go in anyway.
So there it is. It takes a special person.
But that's the exception.
And it's not even a special person. It just takes a person to refuse to look at his family situation and say, man, that's going to be me.
Exception to the rule.
So you can either say, that's going to be me, I'm going to be next, or be like, I want a little bit more than that.
I know, but exception to the rule. We have tens of millions of people in poverty versus folks that are in the upper middle class. That's what I'm saying. How do we start to shift those numbers? With the biblical lens on it.
So one, people have to care. What we're dealing with now is generational curses. So if you look in your family and you see that everybody's been poor, everybody's been broke, then you need to look and see why. What did because somebody did something in the family line. Somebody has probably cheated God out of not doing what they should have been doing. Paying your tithes mean a lot, not just giving your 10%. So it's funny because Galatians 6:6 say, if you're being fed spiritually, you're supposed to pay. You're supposed to tithe. Well, you're supposed to tithe, but you should also give more to the actual pastor because he's feeding you spiritually. He's helping break any curses in your life, and he should be teaching you. If you're dealing with certain things, these are the spiritual curses that you have in your family that you need to break and bind so you can not pass it on to the next generation. So to me, overall, it seems like we're not being educated properly in the church.
Okay.
So that would be the first way to start to even try to figure out what's going on or what's going on in your life, because everybody's life is going to be different. we have the same result as in, oh, we all struggling to make it. And again, everybody, even though everybody have choices, some situations is like, well, I didn't choose this. But again, you need to take a look back and figure out, oh, well, this person was doing this. This person was doing this. Let me let me get my life together a little bit. Let me get in the church and start trying to learn. But see, I don't think we have enough pastors teaching those type of things. Actually, a lot of pastors in general now are, too many of them are, I don't want to say they're worried about being TV famous, but if you,
for the big ones like Creflo Dollar.
So if you're a millionaire, so all right, so I'm gonna ask you, okay, so how's your community doing?
My community is horrible.
Here, yes, but I'm saying, all right, let's take Creflo Dollar. How is his community doing?
Oh, they're thriving.
You know what I'm saying? So, but is he passing on his secret, or is he passing on how he did it to the next? Is he the spiritual father of other pastors who's up and coming? Yeah. And if he's teaching them,
the other mega pastors.
What about the small time pastors?
Another private jet.
What about the small pastors? And why do you need a private jet?
Or he needed another one.
Why do you need one private jet?
Because he needs to get to his parishioners faster.
Internet faster than flying.
It is.
You can do a VTC faster than flying. So that, to me, that's not an excuse. Because why are you a millionaire when you got people around you who are poor and starving? So, and in that sense, I'm not saying the pastor can't be wealthy.
But if the shepherd is balling out of control, but your flock is broke, that's a problem.
That's a problem, and they will be held accountable. So that was the reason why I said I like teaching, but getting that calling is extremely it takes you on a whole, I mean, it's more responsibility. They're responsible because you're responsible for other people's soul. You're responsible if these people go to heaven or hell now. That's a whole, it's not just you and your family.
That's scary.
Because every man is a pastor in his own home. Well, should be a pastor in his own home. So that means, and this is why God look at it. If I created you in my image, I'm holding you responsible. So the man is responsible for his home. So that's why he needs it. But if you're not learning what you should be learning in the church, you could look around for other churches. I mean, now, man, me and my wife, we look at a couple of pastors online, because that's where you get that extra, you just getting more word, and it's never too much word,
right? And you're looking for something. I think one of the prominent churches just split again, I heard.
Yeah, but don't get me wrong, I still have a church home, and people aren't going to agree with where you go to church, and that's fine. But that church home is like your covering, because you have to be under someone, because it just gives you.
I kind of feel like I'd have to do it virtually,
because that's God wants you to fellowship. You don't have to be buddy,
right? Yeah, but you can't just.
But that pastor is supposed to be, basically, that pastor is protecting your soul. That's because that's his job.
But does that mean that you have a relationship with the pastor? Because there's a lot of folks who attend the church and never talk to the pastor.
But you should. That's the whole point. You should have a relationship with your pastor. You should. So you should be able, as the men, you should be able to go, hey, pastor, this is what I'm dealing with. This is what I got going on.
Or what if he plays favorites, or you don't have time for you? Or...
So playing favorites, you can't really worry about playing favorites. But if he doesn't have time for you, you need to ask and say, well, pastor, when do you have time? Because if he acts like he never has time, then that's your answer. It's time to go find a place where somebody has time.
Got you. Because I've had some conversations where it's like, okay, it's not a good time.
Yeah.
And then I find out when a good time is.
Yeah.
And then when I talk to you, it's like, well, why don't you come to to Bible study?
and they keep pushing
but
you
then
off.
We're not talking about that. Well, brother, that's not what we're talking about today. So then I never get the answers to my questions.
Yeah.
And that's problematic.
And it is problematic. And again, these pastors aren't talking about
it's prosperity.
Yes, because right now we need more doom and gloom because that's what's coming. At the end of the day, don't get me wrong, before the final judgment, and those who go to heaven, and those who don't. There's a lot of doom and gloom on the way.
Yeah.
The Bible said it's gonna be like birth pains.
Oh man.
Yeah, it said the tribulation time is gonna be like birth pains. So as things get harder and harder,
I don't want that.
That means but that's telling you. The harder it gets, the closer that it's coming to Jesus. That Jesus is coming back.
So we got to get right.
You got to get right.
So let me ask you this, because I'm always thinking macro. How can I affect change in first my people, right?
Okay. Yep.
But I'll state one of my favorite churches that's here. Shout out to Faith Temple.
Okay.
When I went to Faith Temple, they had everyone there. They had Hispanic folks there, white folks there, Asian folks there, and that's my picture of what heaven would look like, right?
Okay.
It wouldn't just be all black or all white or whatever.
Of course.
Because Sunday is like the most segregated time in America, right? So shout out to Faith Temple for that. When I went there to visit, it was like, wow, everyone's here. Like, this seems like this is what heaven would look like, right? It's all of us who are believers all together.
Yeah,
I like that.
Because that's the true Israel. Everybody who believes will be grafted in. So people that gotta understand is two types of Israel. It's the bloodline, and then there's the spiritual Israel who's grafted in. So it's good to see when you can see churches like that. That's always good, because that's not normal. That's not a normal thing, at least from what I've seen. That's not the norm.
I haven't seen too many like that. And I mean, it's not even, but the folks that are there, they're there, and you notice it. It's like, okay, that's cool. But my question is, the Black community is ruled by a matriarchy, a gynocracy, if you will, right?
And that's our problem. But go ahead.
And if we're going to change the church and change our people, the way that I think that, and it's going to take a while. This isn't going to be something that's going to be overnight. But you talked about being a teacher, right?
Yep.
It would seem that we take the elders and those that are strong in their Christian faith and begin to teach them in a different way in the church, so that they can go back and teach it to their households, because unfortunately they're running their households, right?
Right.
And so they're going home now and they're teaching what they teach, and we're continuing to see what we see, right? When we talk about Chicago, inner cities, yada yada yada, right? And so if they're the first teacher. The mother's the first teacher.
Well, no,
so we got to teach them first, right?
So the father is supposed to be the first teacher.
Supposed to, but we're in the matriarchy.
The mother is supposed to be the first nurturer. That's how. So that's how it's supposed to be. Our dynamic has been just totally destroyed.
Right.
And so that's our problem. Until we can fix that, we can't help anybody else until we fix that.
That's what I'm trying to address.
So, and I don't.
But women aren't going to step down and say, you know what, you're right. Let me just fall back. Let this man come in and take his appropriate place, right?
But see,
that's going to take teaching.
It's going to take teaching, and
that's why I say you have to go to the women first.
And then, again, because that's like when you're out of order, you can't expect for your life to be good. And right now, if we run ourselves as a matriarch, we're out of order.
Right.
We ain't gonna never be right until we fix that.
True. But the church would be the way to fix that.
The church is supposed to be the way to fix that.
Right.
But if they're not preaching that right there, if they're not preaching that first, because the first you're supposed to say, teach the men to be men. Teach the men to stand up. Stop worrying about what other people think. Stop worrying about trying to join a gang, because that's not gonna help you be no man. Stop sleeping around with every girl you think you can. If you find one, then you marry her.
What if I find 10?
Then you setting yourself up for more situational failure.
Oh.
You setting yourself up. So let's take the Hebrew Israelites. They think so. I think they have different schools of thought.
Mm-hmm.
I know one says you can have more than one wife, I think, or you can have like 2 wives.
But they're very strict. You got to take care.
Not supposed to.
No?
Not supposed to.
That's supposed to have 2 wives?
No. Not unless.
But it's all up in the Old Testament.
That's Old Testament. Old Testament.
So in the New Testament,
we can't. So
it was one-on-one.
Because they're trying to follow the law. 616 laws.
Mm-hmm.
No. That's why Jesus came, so you don't have to worry about them 616 laws.
But what if I like the law of multiple
But you can't.
wives?
Nobody can follow him. Jesus has been the only one that can follow him.
No, of course. I can't follow 616 laws,
Exactly.
but I might be able to follow multiple wives law.
That's not, no.
So in the New Testament, it says one man, one woman.
Because you become one flesh. And like scientifically, it's been proven that literally you become one flesh.
So if we were really following that, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because we're not truly monogamous, shout out to CGA. in that,
yeah.
If like I'm not monogamous, I have an older daughter,
yeah.
right? And then I got married. Now I'm divorced. If I get married again, right? And I'm living in sin, right? There's no way for me to correct that.
But you try to. The whole point is to try. Try to do what you know is right. Try to live the way you know you're supposed to live. Nobody's perfect. It's when you willfully sin or refuse to try is when you have to deal with the repercussions. But if
I try, if I start dating someone, I still want to
try
to milk before I buy the cow.
But see, that's
what?
But see, but if you know you're supposed to court.
Oh, I can court, but I still want to try to milk before I buy the cow.
Without trying to milk. Because once you try to milk, biblically, once you try to milk, you married.
Yeah, but I've already messed that up.
Yeah, but
I've been married a lot of times.
But you still can ask for forgiveness and try to move forward in the right way.
Okay, Lord.
So
I'm
Jesus came
for forgiveness.
So that's the grace
for trying all this milk.
But that's the grace that God gave, right? So,
and God gave me grace, and now I met a new person, and we're vibing a little bit.
But you sit down and have that conversation. Hey, look,
I'm gonna try this milk, and if it's good, we keep going.
This is what I would like to do.
Yeah.
Because you would like to base that before you get married. You would like to base that relationship on what you believe and hope. And if she can get on board with that, you good. Because I had a guy. It was a guy I knew on the ship dating a woman. He became a Hebrew Israelite. She was a Christian, and it didn't work out because
I didn't think it would.
She didn't want to convert to Hebrew Israel, being a Hebrew Israelite. And yeah, we're Hebrew, but they taking the identity too far. The identity is just so you know who you are, where you came from, and why you're here, not to stay and go back to them 616 laws. Because now you go. Once you know that you can't do those 616 laws, because it's like a whole bunch of feasts, it's a whole bunch. It's like how you wear your clothes. You can't wear a mix. It's too much. And so God knew from the jump we wasn't gonna be able to do it. The whole point was to say, God, I can't do these laws. Can you help me?
Well, and that would be disobeying God and negating Jesus coming and dying for our sins to say, hey, we're not going to go about the New Testament. We're going to still stay with the old.
No, because they were doing the laws as best they could, but they just wasn't doing them in their heart.
Mm-hmm.
They was doing it all on the surface. They looked the part, but let's take lust. Yeah, you're not lusting after all these women. You're not talking to all these women, but in your heart, they say if you even think the thought, you've done it already.
Well, I'm condemned.
But see, again,
I really like milk.
But that's why Jesus had to come to, because God already knew we was gonna need help.
Right. So you say now that Jesus came back, I can like the milk. That's okay.
No, you can't.
What?
You ain't supposed to like. You ain't supposed to be messing with the milk.
No, I said, can I still like the milk?
You can like the milk once you marry it.
No, I'm not saying drink the milk. I'm saying because the milk looks really good. They put the milk in such beautiful packages.
They do.
I like looking at the milk, and then I would like to drink the milk.
See, our society makes it to where the milk looks too good.
Well, that's what I'm saying.
So the milk's supposed to be covered.
True. So, but I'm sinning because I can't help but to see that the milk.
But see, our society enables the women to walk around however they want.
I know.
Because how women are emotional, men are visual.
Right.
Do you know that visual was that started the first sin?
I know. So I'm constantly sinning because as soon as I open my eyes, I see this delicious milk. I'm not drinking the milk. It just looks delicious. So what am I supposed to do?
Don't look at the milk.
Oh, man. I can't help it. It's everywhere.
Well, I mean, you got to go at some point. You got to get some help. That's when you pray right there. You pray to stay away, and you be like, just pray to keep all that away from you.
Well, here's the thing,
The Bible says you're supposed to just run away from it.
You're supposed to run away from it? So I'm going to go check out my groceries, and I'm like, ooh, look at that milk right there. And I run out. I'm like, what's wrong with him?
No, you don't see that. If it's that bad, you'd be like, you know what? I'm just going to order my groceries from home. I'll call it good.
But, that can happen. You got some old milk.
I get it.
You got some milk that's not attractive at all. Then you see some milk that's like, oh man. Now you're not gonna do nothing. You're not approaching the milk.
But see, all right. So
you're just like, wow, that glass of milk look good.
These young women, a lot of them don't know how to be wives.
Yeah, that's true. And that's a deeper conversation.
Yeah, that's gonna be another topic.
I think we should talk about that next week. And the reason being is as a divorcee, right, that believes in God, that is not practicing Christianity to the level that he knows he should.
Okay.
Right? Because I do like milk. And some other things, I know that I should be married, right? Yeah. But I do have issues with the law, right? U.S. law in marriage, right? I do have issue with Western women, right? And the availability of, and I don't mean traditional, because that's a trigger right now on the internet and whatnot. When you say traditional woman,
why?
That because the trad wife. If you watch a lot of YouTube channels, they make it seem like she's just at home and she's cooking and baking and this and that. That's not what I mean. Traditional wives work harder than wives that go out and work in the office.
Because for people who don't understand, I mean, to me, that would be an insult because my mother is a homemaker.
Mm-hmm.
Now, at one point, she went out and worked because my parents, they used to work together at the post office.
Right.
But when she stopped working, she was a homemaker and she still worked hard.
What I'm saying
homemaker,
is people have what's the word I'm looking for? They have skewed what the word homemaker really means, right?
Exactly.
They're looking at homemaker as she just sits at home eating bonbons, watching the soap. And then when he comes home,
But it's disrespectful for the traditional women who do more than that.
Right.
Who take care of the children, raise the children.
But it's but let me finish because it's more than that even, right?
Okay.
When I look at when I think of traditional wife, and people talking about going back to the old days, well, they were using the baseboard, washing the clothes, right? That was hard. They were out there growing crops in the garden. They were tending to the farm animals, right?
Yeah.
That was a traditional wife. She was staying home.
Yeah.
She was busting butt, right?
Yeah.
A traditional, maybe your mother, right, is taking care of the finances of the house, make sure everything's good, taking the kids to the doctor's appointments. She's working. She might have a side hustle to earn some money, hemming clothes or cooking pies or doing whatever.
Oh yeah.
it's not that she just stayed home and was a trophy wife that didn't do anything.
Yeah.
It was just pampered.
Yeah.
No. There was a lot of work going on, right?
Yeah.
I'm looking for a helpmeet.
Yeah.
Right?
Yep.
And so there's not a lot of helpmates out here, right? With feminism and a whole lot of other things. So I've got a choice. Either I live single and obey the word of God and, look and see if I can find something out there. Or I choose to live in sin and, just have some milk from time to time. You know what I'm saying? And maybe I might drink out of the same carton of milk for a while, but then I might switch up, after a couple months or a year.
But why can't you, because when you're looking for milk
the next day, what
if you're looking for milk, is nothing. If you're looking for that wife, there's nothing wrong with.
Well, that's the thing. I haven't looked for a wife since I got divorced.
Okay.
So,
okay.
So
yeah.
But one thing about milk today, milk finds you. You don't have to go looking for milk.
Well, yeah. Well, the milk outnumber us anyway. So
I have to tell milk, no, thank you.
But again, it's more women than men. So,
but it is tempting. I like strawberry milk, chocolate milk, vanilla milk.
It's consequences to living like that, and again, so
almond milk,
all right. So let's say this:
oat milk.
How many people know that when a man and woman have intercourse, that the sperm goes into the woman's bones, into the brain?
I think more people are starting to learn about it.
They're starting to learn, but so to me, when I found out about that, my first reaction was, I wonder what these women, do they really understand what that means when they say you become one flesh? And that's why you're not supposed to, women shouldn't be acting like they're men, living their best life, sleeping around with everybody.
But
because you're going to have all those different DNAs in your mind. That's what's going to give you, that could give you schizophrenia, just that in itself.
But let me back up, because I think what you're saying is contradictory to the word. You're saying that women shouldn't live like men. But according to the word, men shouldn't live like men, because they shouldn't be out here having sex with everyone.
They shouldn't. They shouldn't be.
So we shouldn't use that phrase that women should be out here living like men.
But men aren't the receivers either. Men are the givers. It's still a sin, but we don't have the consequence that they do.
Sure we do. We're going to hell because we're not married, right? And we're fornicating.
But I'm saying spiritually, it's repercussions because that's a soul tie.
Right.
But
you're saying they'll have extra consequences.
Yeah.
I think that would be the way
they're gonna have more consequences. That's why God created them to be covered, not just by God, but by husband.
So I think there's two ways I look at it. As a man and just being unempathetic. Why would I care? I'm not the one who has, you see what I'm saying? If I meet a glass of milk that's very tasty and I decide to drink it, I'm not going to have that consequence. She's going to have that consequence. Right, so for most men, they're not going to be concerned about that.
All right. So let's say a guy, he meets a woman, he dates her for a few years, decided to get married.
Mm-hmm.
Marries her. And now you don't find out till later the history.
Oh, yeah.
Now, at that point, you're married.
Right.
And so now is, okay, so what do you do now?
You're making a case not to get married. But
see, you can't do that either.
No, but that's the problem, right?
Because we put on the earth to create and multiply.
Well, we might be, but you're gonna lose your wallet, and even more so if you get married now.
And so that's another thing. Our society has made it to where men don't even want to get married anymore because if they don't find a good helpmeet who will be there for them and stick with them through thick and thin, they got to worry about the consequences of divorce.
Yeah, I'm good.
Because that's half your money right there.
Yeah.
Or you paying, if you do have kids, you paying child support. And if you don't, you still paying alimony. So I have a hard time when some women say they want equality, but then when it comes to situations like that, you want the man, after y'all get a divorce, especially women are known to have applied for divorce more than men.
Mm-hmm.
But yet now you still want this man to take care of you now. But you don't want to be with him no more. So go find your own.
But that's the rule.
But see, again, that's just our society.
Right. That's what I'm saying. It's a
other
sucker bet for a man to get married.
Other societies, if you go to like say the Middle East, you have a dowry and you set it aside. It could be like 20 grand in gold. Set aside. If they want a divorce, they get they take that and that's it.
So we were talking about gambling. You're gambling and you got a 50% chance of losing. Do you make that bet?
No, 50% losing. I can't. I won't gamble 50%.
Right. So if 50% of marriages end in divorce, then you shouldn't tell a man to get married. Well, now, for me, I was divorced. Second marriages have an 80% chance of divorce. So there's no way I should get married again.
It's saying what you say when you get married, you're basing it on what you believe.
Mm-hmm.
If you find a woman that believes what you believe, then you know when you get married.
She was a Christian.
Huh?
She was a Christian.
So
and I'm a PK.
So it depends on how hard, how much you really want to live that life.
Yeah, what I will say,
because marriage, people think that a lot of when they say people get married for the wedding.
Yeah,
and that that's just okay, that's just a start.
Well, I'll be clear, and I'll say this live
because marriage is
I am the reason my marriage failed.
Okay,
and I'm the reason because I was the man. I was the head of household, and I did not conduct myself that way in the marriage, right?
Yeah.
And so I believe God, man, woman, child, right?
Yeah.
And I did not take my family to God. Now, had I done that, I'd probably still be married because I would still be connected to God. So we weren't connected to a pastor. So a lot of times I've given different reasons on why my marriage failed.
Yeah.
And I would put it on circumstances and situations, but ultimately fish rots from the head. I'm the head. I'm the reason why my marriage failed.
But see, a lot of times, let's take me. My wife actually said, "Hey, we need to go to church." And I was like, "Yeah." So I wasn't like the initiator like I should have been, but I have learned and hopefully I continue to grow in that. But my wife was the one to say, "Hey, you know what? I think we should go to church. I think, we need
Why'd you go? When you were like,
because I had grew up in it.
Okay.
Like I went to private school first, so I already knew a lot of it already. But at that point in time, I went for my wife. Or at that point in time, we were dating. So I was like, all right, you know what? All right, that's fine.
Oh, so you were still courting and you liked her, happy wife, happy life.
Yeah. But it's
happy man is God's plan.
Yeah. So, and it's not even
that
about
should be the same.
So it's not just about happy wife, happy life. It was she brought a lot of reasons why we should go. And so I was like, okay, well, that makes sense. So yeah, why not? All right.
And so that's interesting.
But I didn't become the head or like the true head for like years later.
How many years would you say?
So when I got to this point, oh man, this was just like recently, like say 2020.
Okay.
Because we would go to church.
How long have you been married?
20.
So 16 years.
But we dated 3 years before, so we've been together like.
So 13 years. Well, no, she took you to church while you were dating, right?
Yeah, while we were dating, but it wasn't like. It was like off and on. We find a good church. So she was always the one like, oh, I found this good church, and like, all right, cool, we go check it out, right? And we start going there. Even when overseas, she found a good church, and we would go to that church.
So would it be safe to assume then that your marriage has stood the test of time and you've made it 20 years because of that proximity to God? Like if there was she said no church.
That and willing to like, cause it's always churches. I mean, marriage is always is up and down.
Right.
So,
but going to church and reading the word, even if you're not to the level that you are now, you are reading things that are supporting that direction, right?
Yeah.
I tell folks all the time. So, my best friend over there, he was Pentecostal.
Okay.
So we went to church on Friday night, Sunday morning, Sunday night, right? I hated it.
Yeah.
I'm a Baptist Christian.
Yeah.
We went to church on Sunday. That was it.
Yeah.
It was like 2 hours, maybe that, and it was over.
It's time to go. Yeah.
But and then they would have choir rehearsal on Wednesday. They have something else on Saturday. They were constant. No, choir rehearsal was Saturday. Bible study on Wednesday. They were constantly in church.
Yeah.
But what was the song? My mind's staying on Jesus.
Yeah.
If your mind is there, it's a lot harder for you to split away. So even if you're kind of bouncing around to churches, you're still living closer in proximity to being biblical,
and it helps.
Versus being out in the world.
It helps. It really does help. I didn't understand it until that.
It's like the Karate Kid.
The more you put in, like the more you put word into you, the easier to follow it becomes, and you start not needing the world so much.
Yeah, it's like math problems. They're really hard, but the more you practice them, the easier they get. Then you can start solving them in your head.
Yeah. So everybody has to find their own way to do it, but
I think we should definitely make this part of the conversation, at least once a month or something, where we get into relationships for men that aren't married. And I don't know, who is your audience for? Is this a men's show? Is it a show for Christians? Who's your audience? Who's your target audience? Or is that still being worked out?
For whoever, it's for whoever wants to hear some truth from the Bible, whoever is curious. Age really doesn't matter.
That's what I say.
I would hope the younger generation would. I want it to hit them harder because it's going to be their turn.
Mm-hmm.
And they have to know, one, where they stand. And two, they need to know how to maneuver our society as these times change. They're going to be the most affected because you got the elders. I mean, we don't know how much time they got left.
Right.
And then, I'm in my mid to late 40s, so, but nobody's promised tomorrow.
Mm-hmm.
But I would like to, for it to hit the younger 19 to 21. I think they need to be hit the hardest. But then again, kids have counted, they need to be hit like 15, 16.
Oh, yeah.
They need to be hit early with just the
I could tell you some stories.
The spiritual consequences of from running in them streets. And I mean, like, people don't understand, like, a lot of the sexual diseases, that's just reaping what you sow.
Well, and unfortunately, why I think it should be hit younger is a lot of these children are watching adults behave behave badly, right? They're seeing men constantly paraded in.
Oh yeah,
talking about, hey, this is Uncle.
Yeah, right.
Uncle Marwan.
Oh, don't do that.
I've been quite a few folks' uncle.
Yeah.
And there's different folks coming around, right?
Yeah.
So they watch it. They're not stupid.
Oh yeah.
They know. Oh, who's he related to? I ain't never seen him at grandma's house.
Yeah, right. Because they asking the question. They're like,
why Uncle coming out your bed in the morning? Out your room, right? I mean, they're not stupid.
Yeah.
So, they see those things, and I don't think parents realize they're unwittingly teaching their children the behavior that they're going to follow, right? Because you're saying it's okay.
Yeah.
Mama smokes weed, so I smoke weed. You do it. What's wrong with it? It's legal.
And not knowing long term is bad for you. It actually it will not deaden, but it numbs the pain sensories in your brain. So, and while you're doing it, you fine.
Mm-hmm.
But the minute you say, you know what, I want to go get a government job, or I want to go do something, and you try to get off of it, you're gonna have some serious, ferocious migraines.
Well,
because all those pain sensors are gonna start waking up again.
Yeah, but they'll say, well, I can get over that. Like 30 days, I'll be okay. When it was becoming legal, I was still teaching at OC.
Oh, okay.
And I would have my students come in and wake and bake, They're coming in, they're already blazed, glass eyes,
man,
laughing.
yeah.
And whether or not they had financial aid or whatever they were doing,
yeah,
many of them you would see them. They'd fail out and they'd come back, in the next year trying to reinstate because they didn't blew up their financial aid. They were able to make it, but they didn't really retain what it was,
what they were learning.
So now they don't have that skill set. And I try to tell folks, I don't like math. Math is so much more than just understanding the slope of a line or being able to calculate percentages or whatever, right? It's problem solving. It's being able to sequence. Being able to show your work, being able to explain. Those are transitional skills that you can use in different parts of your life. And you're not even getting that because you're not, you're not there. So I hated my students when they came in and smoked. It's like you're doing yourself such a disservice. And I get it for medicinal purpose. When it's prescribed for pain and this and that. That's a whole different thing, but on the whole, folks that are just using it recreationally, I think it's a detriment.
It is, and that's so. Again, is how do we solve the problems that it's legal now? So
I don't know. That's like telling black folks,
society saying it ain't no problem. Say what now?
So it's like telling black folks fried chicken is bad for you. You might get beat up. You can't eat that fried chicken. You don't tell me I can't eat this chicken.
But how many black people have been overseas to see that normal chicken is smaller than what chicken is in the U.S.? Our chicken has been pumped with like steroids. That's why it's so big.
Oh yeah, but
if you go overseas, you be like, "This is chicken. This is it. Chicken meat is small.
Small chicken?
Oh, chicken is small.
Oh man."
And you come over here, you be like, "Man, this is a leg right here," not knowing that it's. But you wonder why the people are developing faster because they eating that steroids.
Oh man, that's a whole nother conversation because we seem to be switching. The women are built more like men and the men are built more like women.
Yeah, that's another that's another conversation. That's another conversation. I'm gonna have to write that one down. We're gonna get that one too.
I'm just saying.
Yeah.
I've seen some women whoop on some men, so.
Well, I mean, so the Bible talks about that too. It said there's going to be some feminine men and masculine women. But just because you feel that way don't mean you have to act on those feelings. So God never made no mistakes. And it's in the word that said, some people are going to be like that, but that's going to be their cross to bear. That don't mean you still can't go out and find you a husband or a wife. Because it's never good to be alone. Because if you be alone too long, then you're gonna start feeling like Adam and start looking at stuff.
Well, you're supposed to be looking at too. That's right. And the milk is everywhere, and it's summertime too. So the milk puts on. Anyway, to digress, but I think it would be a good conversation for, like you said, the 17, 19, 21. But I think even 40-year-old, and folks like me that are, I would say, church adjacent.
Yeah.
I know of the word. I know what I should be doing. I know I should be in it deeper, but also understand because I've been through it. And now it's like, well, I don't want to be a ward of the state and get married again. So I don't know what that would look like to obey the laws of man and obey the laws of God and find my helpmate. Right? Like that seems super difficult to me right now.
No, because you can pray for a wife. Man. But just understand, are you willing to pay the cost? So if you So, so there's
I ain't never prayed
there
for nobody.
was a pastor.
I ain't never prayed
There
for nobody.
was a pastor. He passed away.
Mm.
But he said, God will give you anything you ask for, because all the power is in the power of the mouth, right? God gave everybody power in the mouth. So you can get what you ask for. You can speak what you want.
I'm not asking for the wife. Not right now.
So and like, in all seriousness, if you ask for one, be ready.
Oh.
And if you be specific and you say, man, she look like she'll be like a good wife, be ready.
I can't even imagine. I'm at the think
of that. And I guess I was lucky in that. I was lucky in that because I actually said that about my wife, and I didn't remember it until years later.
Oh wow!
And I was like, man, I actually said that, not knowing that
you're making that connection.
I spoke that because even though we met on the ship, so she was working in the armory, and when I went TAD to security, I had to go check out a weapon. She asked me, well, so when we going on the date?
Oh man.
But it was that she knew what she wanted. That's what I liked. Because previous to that, the girls I did talk to, they didn't want to settle down. They still wanted to run around in the streets, and I was like, oh, I'm good.
Oh boy. So
to find somebody who knew what they wanted was like a breath of fresh air. So yeah, but when I really started like, oh, okay, I'm gonna get into the book a little bit, and I was like, oh man, I actually spoke that. So I think people should be careful about what they want and be careful about what you say.
Well, see, I haven't asked for one.
Because you can, and there's nothing wrong with asking for one.
Oh, I'm not ready to ask for one.
But see, it's not even about God will make sure you're ready. So it may not be right now.
Oh no.
It could be down the line. But if that's what you want, he's going to make sure that one, you're ready, and he's going to make sure the woman he brings to you is also ready and will be a good helpmate.
Yeah, I would like,
and especially if it's somebody that you may not be looking at right away, and you may not even see them for a while.
Well, I never look.
But when they come, they'll fit.
Yeah, they come.
They'll fit what you're really looking for.
And they do temporarily, everyone they come,
and they're not gonna let you taste the milk.
No, we got to taste the milk. So, but they come for temporarily, right? And they're helpmates, right? Yeah. And it looks like they're gonna be, they're gonna work, right? And I do have a conversation. This is how I am. This is what I require. This is how I roll. I'm hard to be with. You know what I'm saying?
You up front.
I'm up front, right? I'm hard to be with. And it's like, oh, I can take it. You're like, okay.
You think because you're busy, or you think you're hard to be with?
Because I'm busy, and I'm on mission. So, for me.
But see, if you're on mission, you still need a helpmate.
Yes, I know. And so when they come into my orbit, I don't. I entertain it.
You tell them up front. Hey, look.
Hey, this is what I'm about.
I don't think you're gonna hold out, but I'll try you out.
No, I don't say it like that. I just say this. This is how I am,
and this is where I spend my time. And if you feel like you can fit in,
if you're good with that,
we can see.
I live a life of service. My dad lived a life of service.
Yeah,
I live a life of service. And if you're not about that life, it's okay. It's good, but that also means that my availability is strange.
And but if you live a life of service, you should never be alone either. You shouldn't be out tasting the milk.
Because really alone long.
Right, because it's difficult, and you need a special type of milk. That's all.
That's right.
You need a special type of milk who can be that balance and be a not only a helpmate but a fellow server.
Yeah.
And then you'll be solid. You just need somebody who also serves and can.
And I have been solid.
Do with some of the stuff that you do.
Yeah, I've had it. It's just temporary. They're here for a season.
That's not a helpmeet there.
Because a helpmeet for a while.
A helpmeet is permanent.
The permanent? Ooh, boy.
Yeah. Well,
God got to work on me.
And he would, once you start asking for stuff, he would, yeah.
Hey,
Because I never, you know what? I never thought that I would really get back into the word because at least as hard as I did, because I think it was because I was put in a, I don't want to say a bad situation. I was put in, it seemed like it was unbearable. And it seemed like it was impossible. It was, I had a coworker of mine. He laughed at me. He said, because I was telling him how my career went. And he started laughing. He was like, he said, man, I'm not laughing at you. He just said, it just sounds like your life is a book. And he just said, a lot of this, it just don't seem like it's possible how all this stuff always happening to you. And I said, yeah, I might have to write that book and hopefully it can show somebody else how to maneuver through and give somebody else some insight. They don't have to hit their head where I hit mine. So,
and I hope that's what your audience takes from this show ultimately.
Is
they can learn from it. Some of it could be a cautionary tale.
A lot of it's gonna be cautionary tale.
But a lot of it is, if you do it this way, you're not gonna have to go through this, that, and the other. And the things that you're gonna have to go through, you're gonna be able to weather it.
And don't get me wrong,
and faith.
Because God will always be there, even while you're weathering the storm. Even when you bring the storm upon yourself, because it could be something. Every storm isn't God trying to punish you. Actually, most of your storms is self-inflicting.
I know, but so that milk is
good. So once you understand that, then that will help you correct some of your behavior, because you'll be like, okay, well, like in some people's case, is that milk worth it?
Well, and so that is my growth, right? So I joke a lot in that, but I'm to the point in my life now that I don't desire a lot of milk.
Oh yeah,
I don't have time for the milk. I don't like to suffer fools. So this is what I'm about. And if you fit that, then we can try.
We can talk.
But if we don't, so that is my growth, right? Before I would try to put a square peg in a round hole. And try to make it work. So, but I also will give grace, right? I do allow for people to grow. And so I'm pretty expansive in who I'll give a chance.
Because that's the whole point about it. Marriage is supposed to allow each other to grow and then grow together.
Oops. So the wrong button there.
So that should be how it's supposed to work.
Right.
You let each other grow, and then you come together and grow together too. So
gather together, grow together. That's the name of the organization.
Yeah. And but that's how, that's how it's supposed to be. So
well, we have gone so far off of the Nephilim and the fallen ones.
Well, we hit most of it.
She's gonna have quite a bit to edit. I think this might be like 3 or 4 shows, because we've been going for like an hour or so, hour and a half. But it's good stuff.
Yeah. So I think people will get I'm hoping people will get enough information to start looking up things on their own.
So where can they read about the Nephilim and in the Book of Enoch?
Oh, so once you get the Apocrypha, you go to the Book of Enoch is chapter 6, and you just read the whole. You can read that whole chapter 6, 7, and 8.
And 8, okay.
Yeah,
and hopefully maybe she can put in the edits where they can get a digital version of the Apocrypha if they don't want to buy it, that is reputable in regards to the words not being changed.
Because they do have different versions of it. I hear it's some kind of audio book that they have out now, some software.
Okay, might be Audible or
I think it's Audible is what the latest software is now. And I think it's pretty cheap on there.
Oh yeah.
So
And if you're using it, you might get the first one for free.
Yeah. So that would help.
So check that out. Just to digress all the way back to the top. For me, the takeaway was I'm looking at myself, being glad that I'm man and not angel, not a watcher, because I can't get forgiveness. I can't get forgiveness. And it tells me that I need to keep going against the grain in my life and not go along to get along and go into damnation and to speak out. Because if one or two of those angels might have said, come on, y'all, we can't do this. Like you said, why don't we go to God and just ask for our own?
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
They could have saved all of them.
Yeah, because even if he say no, at least like, all right.
Mm-hmm.
At least I asked. I tried to do it the right way.
Right.
Because who knows? He could have said, all right, and you know what? The fact that you even came and asked, here, I can make you something.
Mm-hmm. Or sometimes,
so you cared enough to at least come to me and say, look, hey, God, I'm having these feelings. Can you help me out?
Yeah. And with children, when I tell my daughter no, and I give her a reason for it, and I don't just say no because I said so, right? Then it's like, okay, I want it, but I get it.
Yeah.
So I'm good.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So there was an alternative there. Yeah. And I would like to think if some of those watchers had just said, y'all, we can't do this. Let's go talk to God about it.
You gotta treat God like
I'm gonna go
father.
snitch before y'all do it.
Yeah.
So maybe you get a whooping, but you're not going to hell forever. You know what I mean?
Right.
So and I think that's where I find our people at, is that many of us are living so backwards and living life so hard for no reason, but we're not calling it out.
Yeah.
And it needs to be called out.
Yeah.
Someone's got to do it.
Well, yeah. And hopefully these conversations we'll start calling them out. So
yeah.
And if we can bring them back to the word, then hey, that's a plus.
All right. Well, I'm gonna give you the final word.
Hopefully people just learn to think for themselves and have conversations. That's what it's all about. Because I think in those conversations, we can come together, and my hope would be to come together as a people. But if we don't come together as a people, at least come together as Christians and have the hard conversations. Because we've all been taught the wrong way, I think.
Mm-hmm.
So, and I think that's what leads to how society treats each other. If we'd have been taught the Bible the right way, I don't think we'd mistreat each other as much as we have. So,
the carrot of the stick in there, the stick, God's stick is one hell of a stick, literally.
Yeah. So if we can avoid God's wrath, I think that'd be for the best.
All right. Well, that's it for the show this week. Tune in next week for another great show. And until then, go with God.